But so this is First Contact, and
Yes.
you did say that you've seen a video and actually responded.
Yeah.
So why don't you give me a bit of background around the reason why?
Yeah, so I saw a couple of your videos. I've watched the first one I watched, of course, was the interview between you and Justice, and Yogi is his name.
Yogi Shambu.
Is he your brother or?
No, he's just a friend.
Okay, because you guys said brothers in some of the chats, sounds like okay,
Just
maybe your
more of
brothers, but yeah, okay,
camaraderie kind of thing, you know.
right, yeah. So yeah, I watched that one, then I watched some other ones, and got my attention because some of the things that you guys were talking about was basically on point what my thinking is. Like you guys go into depth of topics, and you're not like easily swayed by the media, like topics like like the pandemic, and of course and this war between Russia and Ukraine, and these topics. I mean, I like to keep my mind open and see things from all angles, and it's very rare that I come across people that can be very balanced in their views.
Mm.
So, because I have a lot of friends on Facebook, and a lot of them, even my wife, like kind of sides with some mainstream narrative in some way, based on maybe some of their own experiences. I don't know, but like I'm very hesitant to jump on either side. I like to kind of remain neutral and trying to, because not everything, it takes time to sometimes to like see the truth or see what's underneath things. You can't just assume based on what you know at the present moment, everything, right?
True.
Yeah.
So because of that, you felt an affinity to offer services or to
Yeah,
join the team
yeah,
or
I thought it was
want to
important.
support,
I mean,
or
there's a lot of craziness out there, online now, and not a lot of people who are willing to have that really nuanced, balanced perspective. And I like the that you guys are trying to do that, right?
so you like to help sort of like with the show specifically kind of thing.
I'm not sure, but I mean, I can aside from my technical experience and interest in that kind of stuff, I did have an interest in starting my own podcast for a while, and I never did it because just a lot going on in my life at the time. And but who knows, right? That could still happen, I guess. But I just thought, up front, like from the start, I could add my or contribute my technical skills, I guess, in some way.
Well, I think, like, I mean, we're both pretty pressed in our own lives, with all the work that we're doing, because we're both sort of quite busy on, life and work. I mean, I'm working on a pretty large life work that takes into account designing a web TV network, creating a business thinking system that's ethical based, creating card sets, creating maps, creating game boards. I have tons of prototypes that I'm working on.
As interesting, that's also what I was interested in too, is just all the stuff that's going on in your head. That because I have that too. I have all these different things that over the years that I kind of I'm trying to find a way to connect things, I guess, like a lot of ideas I've had in the past, and there's a current idea I have that sort of maybe it tacks onto what you're talking about. I don't know, but it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like kind of evolved over the years, and now I'm kind of thinking it's almost like an artificial brain. Like basically I want to create a system that will help you find the truth in anything, and it's like almost like a map. I don't know if this is possible, but like I'm thinking of using maybe a blockchain technology to develop it. So it's like a mind map system. So basically it's like an ideas, right? Like everything is connected, but sometimes we just can't see the connections. So in my what I wanted to develop was a way of like when you say that you read something, say in the media or whatever, or you think something and you put it in this bubble of a thought, and then from that you branch off into like real world, other things, right? That exist out there. And it's like the more, I guess, things connect to it, the more real it becomes, right?
Mm.
So it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just still like kind of floating around in my head, but like I've had this desire to create something, that kind of encompasses all the things that I've learned over the many years. And I guess this thing could be that.
What's your, can you give me a bit about your tech background, your skills, what you're good at,
Yeah.
that sort of thing?
So, I mean, I've started off doing, I guess I've gone in many different directions. Like I started off sort of multimedia. So I was telling you briefly in the message there that I was doing like, basic websites, HTML, CSS, and using Photoshop to develop the images and then but in that program I also learned some animation and sound, video, editing, recording, and also 3D modeling and that kind of stuff. So kind of like a well-rounded like media stuff,
Hmm.
and for computers from computer standpoint, and other things, and then I went. That really didn't go very far. My career kind of changed directions because of my experiences, my work, and where I was living in Newfoundland at the time, where I'm from, and then I moved. I went into some other fields like between then. Like I went into psychology, and then I went into theater, and then eventually I came back into computers doing IT support, which is what most
Doing
of my
what,
career.
sorry?
IT support,
Okay.
which is most of my career. So for the past like 15 years or so, I've been doing, basically phone support, right, or in-person support, or working within the company, and doing their internal support. So, so you have a problem with your computer, your account, or something like that, I would help troubleshoot that, right? So the last job I had was that as well. Now I just transitioned to a new career on a new career path because I've been slowly developing this like interest in slowly developing this profile towards around automation, I guess, like scripting and that kind of stuff, because that
Mhm.
appeals to me. It appeals to my creative, desire, my desire, the need to create something, because computers can be pretty boring, if especially if you're just troubleshooting all day, you're not really creating anything.
Mm.
So I had this need to create stuff, and scripting, automating is kind of fulfill that in some sense, some way. So I've used that within all my experiences. I've been trying to build that up in my portfolio, I guess. And now this company that I'm working for now realized, saw my experience in that area and decided to, take a chance on me, right, and hired me. So I'm now in a systems integrator, which is a totally different field. But yeah, I started off doing computer support for many, many years. So that's my skill, I guess my strength is in troubleshooting, I guess, problem solving. So I was totally okay when you gave me that problem with your website. I
Mm.
just I didn't see what the problem was, so I couldn't really solve it. So
Well, if I can explain when you save, like you've done the remedy, got your little spell there, and you want to save it so it goes to another social media as the spell, not the site. Because right now, if you go share on Facebook, the site is shared, but not the output.
oh, okay. I guess I'd have to see it. Yeah, I should test it out. So like when
Do you want me to show you?
yeah, sure, it'd be awesome if you could.
Uh, okay, so why don't we use it for you? So what is your most pressing philosophical question?
Do I have one?
Or we can go, what is our best connection point? That's
Sure.
always a good one.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And this is sort of like this, everything starts with a good question, right? And so the whole idea, because I think a lot of the things you said, you're really going to like what this is, because it's essentially a thinking system. So you probably might have the technical skills to start building something, while I've been mapping in the abstract language forms and doing a lot of paper design. And then I met Nova, who's a programmer who built this,
Okay.
but he built it on my design. So it was the first time that I got a technical person, programmer, to actually build the interfaces I've been working on, and just working me and him together. So for a while, we built a 2 or 3 different programs that are, this one's probably close to being finished because it's very simple. And then there's another one that I want to tell you about we're sort of at a bit of a log jam. So I think that you could probably help out. And I think it's at a fascinating place. I think it's something that you'll be very excited about. Let's take a look at this. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. 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 Okay, if I just explain a bit the problem solving, the combo type in the middle is the focus point. And within the idea, I have 72 cards that are conversation types, combo types. And so problem solving is sort of what you put forward is what you're really doing right now. And justice is sort of justice laws where we met. And braveness is, I think it takes courage to not go along with that mainstream narrative. And it takes courage to kind of stand up and really speak about what we feel is true, right? So this is a basic spell. This is also a framing for a conversation. This is if we pressed another button at the bottom, we could open up, let's say, a Zoom, and me and you could chat about this and discuss what it means. So I'll just read it. And sorry, I'm just explaining a bit rather than having you answer. But so braveness, to value possessing or exhibiting courage or courageous endurance. Problem solving, a conversation with the intent to find a solution to a specific problem. And justice, the maintenance or administration of what is just by law or by judicial or other proceedings. And so the braveness goes into that intention at the top of problem solving. And the justice goes where the attention is. So a lot of, let's say, spiritual traditions or just life, is a combination of intention plus attention. And so we have a field, the conversation type, where we're programming our own intention of braveness into it, and then we're looking at the lens of justice. So would you like to answer the question from your point of view?
I'm just trying to still figure out what I'm looking at. I understand what you're saying, but still, this is foreign to me. This the way you've laid this out, I guess. So yeah, our connection point. I mean, problem solving. I'm just kind of curious where this came from. How is it able to determine, these 3 basic, I guess, connection points, based on a question that you typed in?
So what I've I have a card set called the Conscious Communication card set. It has 6 decks in it. It has a values deck, it has a conversation type deck, and it has 4 lenses from the community to the organization to outer you to inner you. So the 4 lenses go where the lenses go, and this is just a random generated output, right? So it's divination. So what I found with the cards and what I have in the lenses is I have like an ideal way to organize a community. And then at the organization level, I have maybe I should just show you. I'll show you some other maps afterwards, just to give you some context of where this comes from. But there's basically what you call that big brain, 4 different layers of concepts, from the inner you to the outer you to the inner group to the outer group. Or if you've read any Ken Wilber or heard of him.
No, but what you're saying to me makes sense to me. I mean, I did LSD many years ago, and I experienced this this almost like a pulsation of like my experiencing myself, and then me experiencing myself with a group of other people, or like it was sort of like maybe like 3. It was like me by myself, within myself, and it was the outside world, and it was me and the outside world, or something like that. There's like 3 levels, sort of.
Okay. So if do you want to just go deeper into answer that question, or like what those words mean to you? I mean, I think it almost seems so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's obvious. Like, yeah, that's why I didn't question it, because it was so obvious. So like, yeah, like we met through justice, right? Because we have a common friend, and problem solving is sort of like actually, where our conversation began, I guess. And braveness is what is what I saw in your videos and I mentioned as well. So
So there you go. I mean, so this is it. And so what is our best connection point? We're already sort of at it, but it's like when you've got this, let's say, big brain, or you got this big mind, right? And it just depends upon where you are, what your perspective is going to be. Like, are you looking through a justice lens, or are you looking through a law lens, or are you looking through a governance lens, or are you looking through a politics or an economics, or education or health? Like, all of these are these big words that we use. And so what I've done is place them in a pattern at different levels that connect together. And then when you sort of ask a question, and then you get this random divination, you're getting pieces of it coming together, which gives the mind a way to either communicate or to see either like how that we need to communicate, or what communication we need to do to find the answer, kind of thing. Like, there's two ways. It either gives you the answer, which this kind of did, or that we could go into a problem solving conversation, look at justice, be brave about sharing what we have, and then we'd find our connection point. So it's a lot of divination, or most divination, goes back to the tarot deck, and it's one deck, and it's a symbology that you sort of have to understand what the cards symbolize to get the reading. You know, you need someone to interpret it, but the words which I've used, which is actually in 6 decks, is words that we all kind of know, or words that there aren't really symbols here. We're just using the concept. And so when you have the card decks and you play a lot with the divination, you see it. It's very interesting to get your mind stimulated within a pattern that you wouldn't ordinarily see, or you see a pattern which just makes so much sense, but it came about randomly, right? So it's there's a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah, I'm still hazy on how this fits together. I mean, I'm still at the conceptual level, right, of how you're describing it. My mind is very like, I like to see details, because I'm like to pick things apart and understand how it works, right? So yeah, I'm just curious about what's behind this. Like,
Okay, well, I'll let me show you some other stuff. But if I look at, like, let's say I press Facebook here, right? So it'll welcome to Planetary Guardians. It's not sharing the output. So if
I see. Yeah, just bring it to the site, but it's not sharing this results.
Right. So if I go save as image, we have a save as image or save as PDF. Sometimes you gotta press it twice. So currently, this is the only way to get the output where I have to save it.
Right.
And then say we'll stick in Ally for now. And this is also sort of like there's a story behind this, or a methodology for, let's say, bringing people in, which to me is one of the most important things of figuring out, who are you and how are we going to connect? Because
right,
there's a lot of different ways we could connect. And, there's just, there's a lot of different projects I'm working on, and I have to, but like, I feel like I need to teach all the time or show all the time, because everything I'm presenting is generally pretty new. And so I'm just getting to the point where there's a lot to teach. I'm in the middle of writing a manual for the card sets. I have 1,000 boxes coming on the way. So I'll have 250 card sets in May. So that's another background project, but there's a software program. Anyway, I think so. You get this, right?
yeah.
So I'll just bring something up here. I mean, one, you can tell. Oh, blaming awareness. Get a jab in. So this one, what I started with, remember I was saying there was 4 layers or 4 levels? That's what comes from this, where you have the individual in the group, and this is the inner, and down there is the outer. So the inner individual is the choice wheel. The outer individual is the flow wheel. The inner group is the synergy wheel, and the outer group is the harmony wheel. So you got a lens from the harmony, from the 8 wheel of here. And then the values and the convo types are different, but what they, if I show you, let me just show you on the map. This wheel is the synergy wheel. Now, the convo type, the problem solving, is actually, I gotta get the bigger one. Wait a second. Okay, here. So if we look right here, that's operations, right? So research, infrastructure, learning, operations, creativity, synergy, services, interfacing or marketing, stewardship, and communication. What I'm saying is I could go to any company and bring this as an infrastructure, and it wouldn't necessarily match, but everything they have would fit in here. And then there's a relationship. This is the flow wheel, which is the outer individual, and this is the inner group. So then you can put them on top of each other and sort of like research, fields, infrastructure, resources, learning, jobs, operations, activities, creativity, products, synergy, relationships, services, paths, interfacing, strategies, stewardship, agreements, communication, conversation. So these are structure words. These are at the individual level and these are at the group level. So what we're doing is we're creating a reference point for the mind that we can use to organize any job and any organization and then any community. I'm used to that look.
Yeah.
The eyeballs going, wow.
It's
Thanks
still
for that
new.
download about the inflow matrix.
I guess I'm yeah, I sort of see where you're going with that. Like, so what's the goal exactly? So you want to be able to, like, give me a real world example at a company or something like that, I guess.
Well, I mean, this is an example of the map. This is more at the community level, but of a value system. So in those of seeing that these are the concepts here and here are the values. So if I, had a drag and drop or pressed a button, I've got 100 values, let's say, that can fit in each of these things. And what you can do is you can create custom design value systems. And that to me is like the beginning of the whole operational system. The whole OS is going to start from here. So it's like organizing in circles, organizing in sacred geometry, having a completely different type of interface than we know, and traveling through the internet. It's more of a navigation system, really. So that's like, again, I've been working on this for 25 years.
So if you want to find something on the internet, you use this to find it?
Well, you could. It depends upon the use. I mean, if
Or are you trying to find someone with the same values?
That can happen too. I mean, it's a holistic system, so it can do a lot of things. I mean, to me, it's like something needs to tie together all the apps and software in a company. And I know there's some big software companies that are doing that, but this is sort of this is different. Like, this is at some point going to be a totally new web TV network that connects in a different way. But it's also a game. Like here's like one of the last interfaces that I've been working with this woman, but she got another job and she couldn't keep working. And here's like a game board. That's more of a game board. So, but I would say, like, there's this program called Chat Stream where we make teams and we've got an ability to go from one person to 12 facilitators to 12 students per facilitator, so 144 people at once, and have them play a game, have a timer, have a goal, have them in a chat stream, like basically a chat room, but they have to do something, and it's all laid out, and it's actually has a type of conversation that they're in. So if they're doing a marketing enrollment mission, it's very different from doing a self needs analysis kind of thing. So the card sets are used to actually design the chat rooms, and we've gotten pretty far with it, but we're now, there's just a lot of missing pieces. And I think that from what you said on your sort of skill list, that you might be perfect to put a bunch of these pieces together, because I'm building from the outside this game, and then on the inside is this technology that can do something, but we're missing the in-betweens. And there's a lot, like when I'm working, it helps, like for me to, like, I'll send you design, you can work it out, you come back with what you got, I come back with the next piece kind of thing. So it's the way I was working with Najin was that way. And so these interfaces were built together, but again, somebody does the tech side and I'm doing the design.
Makes sense. Yes.
Or you could help with just the show and start there. And because I've been asking, whether it's editing or marketing or, just coming up, like, I want to come up with like a sort of basically a template for a web TV show, and help someone like Justice, build a team and build an audience. And so the very secret plan is a web TV show starting show. So me and Yogi Shambhu brought Justice on, and he's strong enough to hold his own show. So we do the first interview, we see what he's like. And then from there, now we would set him up in something called the Planetary Guardians web TV network. So it's kind of like looking at issues that have a web TV show specifically for it. And then that web TV show follows the issue along and looks for a remedy, looks for a solution. And so the idea behind media changes from just this sort of, is that you beeping or me beeping?
That's you, yeah.
So freaking beeps. Oh, wait, so, okay. Okay, a friend of mine was missing, and we're just hearing that she's okay.
Okay.
That's great news. Someone went to Peru for an ayahuasca, and we hadn't heard in the last 2 days. At a time we should, and we just heard that she's okay. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I know I already got a lot of things on my plate, but I'm willing to help out any way I can. So, I mean, there is some things there, that's in my mind separate from what we just talked about, but like, in regards to like groups, for example, like I'm sure you probably maybe already saw this or thought of this, many times or in detail, but like one of the problems that I found in my experiences when you get in a group of people or you're trying to bring people together is it eventually will fall apart unless there's like a strong foundation there, or maybe like a strong, I guess, someone might try to take over the group because they have their own opinions and ideas of where it should go, or that kind of thing. Have you dealt with this?
Well, I've dealt with that sort of all my life in a sense. No, what you're bringing up is a very important point. And part of the communication system, I mean, I have to learn to be a better communicator, from my point of view. I mean, I see myself as the architect in a sense. So I feel I have this, I mean, 25 years, I've got a design that, most people, it's kind of like, it takes a while to get it, and it takes a while to learn. And it is meant to empower people. So like one of the main things behind the whole idea is for you or whoever's participating to design their ideal job, within this new idea, new system, You build exactly what you want to do. You do what you love to do, and we figure out how to make the money and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that's at the basis. So I mean, if a lot of times competition exists because people aren't where they want to be. So to me, about
Yes.
finding right place, like, I mean, you might not want to be a problem solver, you might want to be a coder, you might, whatever you want to do. So, but sometimes, like at the beginning, it's kind of like if something's exciting enough, when people really get into something, they just won't do anything, right? They'll just jump in, and for me, I have to do whatever it takes to get this kind of going. So I'm doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm just beginning to open up to bring more people in. Like I'm quite connected to quite a lot of people, but I'm thinking we might get to 140 foot. Like it looks like one of the main goals is going to be build the first shared knowledge community. So that's 144 people in a new economic kind of boundary unit. And that's another of the inflow matrix operating system is the operating system that runs shared knowledge communities. And being an inventor or creator, I've been lacking marketing and infrastructure support, like the legal, the accounting, all the things that run a business that an artist does not want to really participate in because I'm too busy mapping things, right? Like my mindset is so different than those types of things. So we need to get more people each doing what they want to do, but from that particular perspective within the business that is running it. So that's the synergy wheel of people in infrastructure are going to be different from people in research and different from marketing, right? So it seems to me that, I mean, you're coming in from the technology point of view, and you're coming in more at operations and just helping with there's so much help that's needed in that area. So
Yeah. The other thing too, you mentioned communication and and I think it's what you said, expressing yourself, right? You want to get better at that. You need to get better at that. That's something that I spent my whole life on. So like, I think I'm a pretty good communicator because I've spent so much time inside of myself trying to understand myself. And because I've seen the progression from like being a really shy, withdrawn person to being more outgoing and better at communicating what I'm feeling inside of myself. So like, I see that in other people. And that's actually one of the reasons why I also wanted to be involved in a podcast because I have so many things going on in my mind. There's all these different things that I want to express. I wanted to create this group called Connections. It took me a while to figure this out, but like before the pandemic, this is my idea was to bring people together. But what I see in the world, in all these different groups that I've been a part of, is that not everyone connects together. Like there's sometimes you'll find people who really oppose each other, like opposite poles of a magnet or whatever, or I should say the same poles of magnet. Like they won't they won't click, right? They'll have disagreements or arguments if they get to if there's something that's in between them, right? And like the way I see the world is kind of like this big puzzle piece, and not everyone's going to fit. Everyone will fit into this puzzle, but they won't all fit in the same place. You have to find the right people that will fit together, sort of like a mini group, that sort of like will develop on its own, almost like a microorganism, and then you'll have other people that will fit together, right? And it's somewhere along the way, maybe those organisms will find some common thing that'll connect them, and then they will grow together, as a mutual, symbiotic relationship. So like that was my idea, was to create this group where people could come in person, meet together. And the idea was to try to help them solve their problems. It could be like financial, like, job, trying to find a job, trying to start a business, try to even, deal with some issue within their family, between them and their friends, relationship problems, anything, right? Some kind of problem that they have struggling with, and basically come into this group and sort of, or through conversation, eventually meet up with other people who have similar sort of interests and values, and these kind of things, and start a sort of mini group within the bigger group, and start working together, on trying to overcome those problems, right? And create a symbiotic relationship between each other, between those people within that group to help each other, and then, or other groups that connect to those, based on sort of similar what you're talking about there. So that was another idea. I also had an idea for a podcast, and the podcast, some of the problems I see is that there's opposing opinions, right? You can get together with some people and have the same sort of values, and it can go well. But as soon as you try to, promote that idea, you have people attacking you, right, from the outside, because there's stuff there in that conversation that's not being addressed. And one of my ideas was to bring two people together in a podcast to have completely opposing views, but have this desire to want to, meet each other halfway and solve that problem, right?
Mm.
And then you have as well a third person in there, sort of like a mediator, to help as sort of like a neutral point where they can help both people, sort of like a counselor, but in a
Mm.
podcast style format.
Mm. I love it. I love the ideas. I think both are necessary. I think I've been playing with the idea of a debate network of, we need rigorous debate, and it may not be having to find the middle ground, but to have two people from both sides to go through debate procedure and to hear both sides, let's say about COVID or about 9/11 or about anything that, supposedly is conspiracy,
Yeah.
and
And
and,
y-
and really go into it with intelligent people. So
yeah.
anyway, we're on the same page. I think a lot of the things we're on the same page about, the people that are on the same page are kind of on that same kind of page, in a sense of, if you've been watching and seeing things, you're going to see the same sort of needs that our society needs, right? And especially, let's say, from a technical point of view, because there's so much that's there, but there's so much that's kind of missing too. There's a lot of potential, but how do we, how do you get the right people in the right spot talking the right way?
Yes, that was, that was my interest. And that's why I wanted to create this group called Connections. And my idea was to, get people in person, and then it would naturally happen, because when you're in person, there's so much information that's not, you're not going to get online, essentially, right? That you could get in a personal, in a, indirect person meeting. But because of the pandemic, that changed my whole plan. And, I kind of went to the back end, to the back, in my mind, but like, it's still kind of there,
Mm.
this idea of trying to bring people together and overcome problems and stuff. But yeah, so that's why I thought maybe there'd be more than just technical stuff that I could, contribute to in this, in whatever you're doing. But
For sure. I mean, and again, like we all have a lot of things we want to do, and there's some things we need to do on our own. There's some things we can do as a team, and then there's sometimes, let's say, I've supported you, you're in support of me. That's sort of, um, it's the big thing is priority of work, right? And what gets done and
yeah,
what time we put. I mean, I would love to have just some basic help around certain things and just say, hey, this is where this is at, and have you come in and go boom, boom, boom. And because I know that the Nova, like he has a game. He's got this amazing game called the Game of Planets that he built, and I've been playing 3 beta tests, and he's just reworking it again. So he hasn't had the time to put into our projects because he's also in school for computer science. Plus he has, a girlfriend, a couple of kids kind of thing. Plus he's on some other projects that we're on kind of together. So he's maxed, right? But he's still able to sort of get some pretty high end things done. So we need help.
I want to tell you too, like, this is just, don't think it's the wrong way, but like, cause I like to be honest, and like appreciate people who can appreciate my honesty, because I like what you're doing. I mean, I still have a surface view of it, but like, part of my feedback would be like, I would like to help if I could with the graphics, because I feel it's sort of dated. Like, it
Okay.
feels like it's like the 90s, like the way it looks, because
Okay.
it's like you're using the very basic features within the graphics program to create, the aesthetic of it.
I mean, if you want to take this as a basic thing and come up with a whole new look, I'd be down.
Yeah.
One, I think I'm into multiple entrances, but two, again, if you want to come up with something that you think would look way better.
I'm not like a graphic designer. I like to enhance what's already there.
Okay.
So I'm good at doing that. I'm good at bringing out what, like I guess maybe the inherent values, like, that's within, like, the idea behind it, right? Like for example, like a friend of mine years ago, she bought bought a business, her own business, started the business like in the spa business, and she needed a sign for the business, and she needed a business card. And I never done that before. I mean, I've experienced making graphics, stuff like that, but I never, participated in trying to help a business develop a design or something like that, right? So I worked with her, just trying to listen to her, trying to understand what she wanted, and then I took that and I built what what I thought that she wanted, right? And she loved it. So
Okay. No,
that's sort of what I like to do.
yeah, like I believe in constant and never ending little improvements. So, and passing it on. And I think that would be great too.
Yeah, but one thing I want to quick say too, on top of all that, everything we're talking about here is what I feel like my purpose in life is to do is to help other people find their purpose. So,
It's funny because my purpose is to connect energy and information so other people could better fulfill their purpose. It's interesting that our purposes are quite linked to purpose.
yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are lacking in the world, I think, are a sense of purpose, right?
Mm.
You know, even me, like, there were times where I'll go through like a couple months or whatever and feel like I'm not really contributing to anything and feel like disconnected, and in this world, the way it is now, I think that's like a really important thing, right? Is to want to give people a sense of purpose,
Exactly. I agree totally. And I think that's again, like with planetary guardians, I think we need to serve something bigger, and having, basically looking at the issues of the planet and then having web TV shows that are specifically focused on that, that to me is a lot of leverage to bring in purpose and to bring in sort of serving a higher cause. So I think you're going to like what you see when you keep going deeper, because there's a lot of design in here, and there's a lot missing too. And someone like you would just be like completely, I think it'd be amazing, in what you can do in here. So I have to go soon.
yeah.
Can I'm going to talk to Nova about you, and I would like to just maybe as a first step, there's a bunch of little things, maybe just what I can do is maybe make a list, and then you can look at what you want to do, and then we can sort of go back and forth on
Sounds
that.
good. Sure.
But I'll figure out what I have to get to you in terms of the technical access to the back end of Choose a Remedy. And then if you can figure out how we can share that output into social media, that alone is a massive thing, which we've been waiting months for.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Nova hasn't been able to figure it out, because I'm not a programmer, but I am sort of working that direction, because I've gone from problem solving to now going deeper and deeper within what I've been exposed to in computers and stuff, and wanting to understand things better, So now my job as a systems integrator requires me to know programming it, so I'm learning Python now, although
Okay.
I'm also working on another project outside of work, and some kind of health information system that requires me to know Angular, which is a web programming language. So I'm sort of learning two languages sort of on the side by side, but so I'm not there yet. But the way I kind of see this problem is, see, when you click on the link, you're sharing it to the public, and the public doesn't have, someone who's coming to that link doesn't have an account. So you have to have a way to store that information and then present it to the person, like some kind of a session, where that information is kept in a file in a database, something like that, and then share with them when they visit it based on some link, that's specific to that information,
But I mean, if I'm, let's say, exporting as a PNG,
Okay.
like there are certain programs, right, where you can share the video to social media. So to me, that PNG file, there should be some, like, press the button and the PNG goes out to the.
There might be some native function within the language you're using on that site that will do that. I don't know yet what's how it's designed, but
Okay, so anyway, so are you okay with that as a next step? And I'll see to arrange that with Nova and see.
yeah, I mean, I'm willing to tackle anything, So if I can't figure it out, then okay, but I will try, right? So
Okay.
I guess my curiosity is in trying to solve problems, and maybe I'll learn something along the way, right? Like there's rarely ever, like there's pretty much nothing haven't been able to solve. Sometimes though, it takes me a lot longer, right, than how it appears on the surface. It might take me a lot longer because of my current background doesn't have all those pieces, but pretty much usually eventually I will solve. I actually have friends who are also programmers, so if I can't solve it, maybe they might be able to help me figure it out. So
Perfect, perfect. Okay, I have to go. It's great to meet you. I feel like there's a lot of synergy, And there's a lot of everything you said to me, I agree with or inspired by. So I look forward to seeing what we're going to do together.
Cool. Sounds
All
good.
right. All right. See you later.